Welcome to New Sky TV, it's explosive. Xiaoxu and Yuxin team up again. Spring Night's trapped crossing is so sweet it'll break your heart. Do you remember the couple from Summer of Fanta who made you cry your pillow and were so sweet it made your teeth ache? They're back with Spring Night's trapped crossing, and they're going all out, starting as a contract couple, getting married without ever having met. Isn't that going to keep the audience on the edge of their seats? Have you ever thought about how suffocating yet addictive that feeling of taboo is when you and your legal partner brush past each other in the company elevator, wearing matching rings but having to pretend to be strangers? Before Su Wangqing pushed open that glass door, she never imagined that the job she finally found would be with her husband, whom she hadn't seen for 6 months, whose WeChat chat history stopped at contract signed. Isn't this a cruel joke of fate? The moment when Yankee turned around in front of the French windows, his eyelashes didn't even tremble. But guess what? Did his fingers, hidden under his desk, secretly dig into his palms, using pain to suppress the almost spoken "Why are you here?" This man is a famously aloof and stoic CEO, his face always screaming "Keep out." But when he secretly warmed milk for Su Wangqing in the middle of the night, did he ever consider that his tough exterior and soft heart had already been completely seen through by the audience? Xiaoxu's character this time is, on the surface, an ice block cold to the bone. But don't you want to know how many unintentional glances, how many instinctive acts of protecting his own, it took for him to shatter that ice block from the deepest part of his heart? And Yuxin Su Wangqing isn't a princess in distress waiting for a prince to rescue her. The business marriage agreement she holds is her only bargaining chip for survival. In the process of pretending not to love someone, won't such a woman first deceive her own heart? Have you noticed that what's most chilling isn't their later, incredibly sweet kisses, but rather the cold violence of the first 6 months of their marriage, where they lived separate lives and couldn't even remember each other's birthdays? Isn't that more terrifying than any melodramatic cheating story? When Su Wangqing first walked into Wen Yankee's company building, every click of her high heels on the floor felt like a blow to that paper-thin legal relationship. Did she ever think, for a fleeting moment, that she was actually jumping into a bottomless trap? When Yankee announced the new quarterly disciplinary requirements at the employee meeting, his gaze swept over Su Wangqing, who was sitting in the last row, lingering for less than a fraction of a second. But dare you bet that his supposedly unstoppable heart skipped a beat. During the day at the company, she was an intern, and he was the CEO. Between them lay not only a dozen or so job levels, but also a high wall built by a whole set of social rules. But at night, behind closed doors, that red marriage certificate was like a red-hot iron, branding the words husband and wife onto their most intimate skin. Isn't the sense of division more intense than any affair story? Think about it carefully. What's the cruelest part of this relationship? It's not that they have to pretend they don't know each other, but that while pretending, they have to watch themselves fall for each other, unable to take that step. What's the difference between that and cutting flesh with a dull knife? When Su Wangqing passed by Wen Yankee's office with her folder, the smell of cedarwood perfume on him made her slow her pace. Have you ever had this experience, telling yourself you can't care, but your body is a million times more honest than your mouth? Wen Yankee, that big bad wolf, never utters a kind word, yet when Su Wangqing worked overtime until the early hours, his office light stayed on until then too, she casually mentioned wanting strawberries, and the next day there were 3 boxes in the fridge. When she was bullied by a colleague, he quietly transferred that person to a suburban warehouse. This kind of doing 10 points while saying 0 subtly flirtatious behavior, doesn't it just hit the softest spot in every girl's heart? What's most infuriating is that during the company team building event, someone joked that President Wen should find a girlfriend. His hand holding the wine glass paused, his gaze swept over Su Wangqing peeling shrimp in the corner, his Adam's apple bobbed, and then he coldly uttered "not interested." Guess if that night when he got home, he might have cornered Su Wangqing in the entryway, his voice hoarse, and asked her, "Aren't you interested either?" What makes this drama so shrewd is that it doesn't feed you artificial sweeteners. Instead, it forces you to find sweetness amidst shards of glass. Every time you think they're about to get closer, the writers sharply distance them. Every time you think it's over, a spark ignites, making your heart flutter. Isn't that the most authentic form of love? When Yankee hands you an umbrella from behind, his face is a deadpan "I was just passing by" expression. Su Wangqing takes it, bows her head, and says thank you. Their fingertips touch for less than a fraction of a second before they recoil as if burned. Can you feel that electric current creeping up the screen and into your palm? They could hold hands openly, yet they choose to secretly exchange glances in the stairwell where no one can see. They could openly show concern, yet they feign impatience and toss out, "Don't overthink it, I'm just afraid you'll die in my company and cause trouble." Isn't this kind of manipulation, hiding deep affection beneath a facade of disdain, a million times more lethal than directly saying "I love you"? Have you noticed that Su Wangqing is starting to resemble the submissive, down-on-her-luck heiress she once was? She dares to contradict Wen Yanqi's proposals and meetings, glares back at him when he's angry, and storms out after he's once again been stubborn and hurtful. Isn't this transformation from being afraid of you to being angry with you to unable to stop thinking about you the kind of growth story every woman dreams of? And Wen Yanqi, this seemingly icy figure, has actually begun to melt away completely. He'll send a male colleague on a month-long business trip just because Su Wangqing talks to him a few extra words. He'll stay at the company late at night under the pretext of checking the security system, and he'll park his car outside her apartment all night on the day she took a sick day with a fever. If a man like this truly opens up and loves her wholeheartedly, do you think Su Wangqing can handle it? The most explosive aspects of Spring Night Crossing is how it rings out the paradox of being the closest yet having to be the most distant to its absolute limit. The more they pretend to be strangers during the day, the more intense the tension becomes when they're alone at night, so intense that you feel the air is filled with the mixed smell of caramel and gunpowder. Have you ever imagined that scene? One late night, Su Wangqing is the last to leave after working overtime, and she bumps into Wen Yanqi, who has also just finished get-off work, in the elevator. The two of them are alone in the enclosed space, neither speaking, but his gaze, secretly watching her, is reflected in the elevator mirror, so tender it seems he wants to devour her whole. Isn't this silent confession more powerful than any dialogue? Ultimately, what audiences are waiting for isn't some melodramatic catfight or mindless sweetness, but rather to see how two people who are clearly attracted to each other gradually shed their pretenses amidst the constraints of rules and desires. How much passion lies hidden beneath Liu Xiaoxu's cold exterior? How much yearning is pressed beneath Guo Yuxin's restraint? Don't you want to witness it for yourself? When the marriage first, love later premise meets Zhang Dama, the director who excels at creating heartwarming stories, when the second-time couple label collides with a script that perfectly understands the audience's itch, when all the unspoken love transforms into those hesitant pauses, those furtive glances after passing by, those late-night goodnights that turn into "open the door, I'm downstairs," can you guarantee you can resist fast-forwarding, screaming, or looking the screen? One is a cold-faced CEO who never bows his head, and the other is a fallen heiress who never admits defeat. The two of them treat their marriage certificate as a script, and as they act it out, they lose their hearts. Guess whether they tear up the agreement first or their clothes first. Thank you for watching the video. See you in the next video. Thank you.